Seat 14A. After a week that felt like a never-ending whirlwind of deadlines, meetings, and last-minute crises, I finally settled into seat 14A, right next to the window. This trip to Denver was more than just a weekend getaway. It was my much-needed escape. 3 days of solitude, hiking trails, and breathing in the crisp mountain air. No emails. No phone calls. Just me and the Colorado wilderness. I had intentionally spent the extra money to book this seat. I loved watching the ground disappear beneath me as the plane ascended into the clouds, the world slowly shrinking until it looked like a map come to life. This window seat was my little sanctuary. As soon as I sat down, I pulled out my noise-canceling headphones, queued up my favorite playlist, a mix of acoustic guitar and ambient sounds, and prepared to check out from the chaos of everyday life. The boarding process was its usual blend of confusion and human Tetris. People shoved overstuffed bags into overhead compartments and squeezed past each other in the narrow aisle. I kept my backpack at my feet to stay out of the way, offering polite nods and smiles as passengers filtered by. At one point, I noticed an elderly woman struggling with her carry-on. She seemed unsure how to fit it into the compartment above. Without hesitation, I stood and offered to help. She smiled warmly, introducing herself as Mrs. Thompson. "Such a kind young man," she said, patting my hand after I got her bag settled. Her wrinkled face radiated gratitude. "It's no problem at all," I replied. That small interaction left me feeling a little lighter. Little moments like these, simple kindnesses, were the bright spots I lived for. But my calm didn't last long. Just as I was about to put my headphones back on, a sharp voice sliced through the background noise. "Excuse me," the woman said, standing beside my seat in the aisle. I turned to see her. She was dressed in an immaculate cream-colored pantsuit that probably cost more than my entire weekend trip. Her platinum blonde hair was styled in a way that suggested it took hours and a team of professionals to achieve. She wore oversized designer sunglasses perched atop her head despite being inside the cabin. Clinging to her leg was a young boy, probably around 8 or 9, engrossed in a handheld gaming device, his fingers rapidly tapping away. Before I could fully register the situation, she pointed one manicured finger directly at me. "You're in my son's seat," she said in a sugary voice that barely concealed the edge beneath it. I frowned. "I'm sorry, but I think there's a mistake." I glanced at my boarding pass again, even though I knew what it said. "This is 14A. Her lips tightened. "No, you don't understand," she replied, her tone sharpening. "My son, Jacob, needs to sit by the window. He gets airsick if he doesn't. You'll need to move." For a moment, I was stunned. I wasn't trying to be difficult, but I had specifically chosen this seat for a reason. I had been looking forward to this exact spot all week. "I'm really sorry to hear about Jacob," I said, keeping my tone as neutral as possible. "But I booked this seat well in advance. Maybe you could ask someone else to switch." Her eyes narrowed into slits. "Are you refusing to give up your seat for a child?" she asked, loud enough for the nearby passengers to hear. There was accusation in her voice, as though my answer would confirm her worst suspicions about the kind of person I was. I felt my stomach tighten. Around us, heads turned. People were beginning to watch. Some curious, others already disapproving. This wasn't about a window seat anymore. The boy, Jacob, remained glued to his game, completely oblivious. The woman, who I mentally dubbed Suit Lady, wasn't finished. "Do you know who I am?" she hissed, leaning in close enough for me to smell her expensive perfume. "I'm a Platinum Elite member with this airline. I am entitled to have my preferences accommodated." I took a breath to keep calm. "I respect that," I replied, "but I also paid for this seat. It's not about status, it's about reservations." I held up my boarding pass as proof. Her expression twisted into something unpleasant. "You're being incredibly selfish," she declared, louder this time. "My son isn't feeling well, and you're prioritizing your comfort over his health. What kind of person does that make you?" The manipulation was blatant, and I felt the heat of anger rise in my chest. Still, I dug my nails into my palm and stayed composed. "Ma'am, I sympathize," I said evenly, "but this seat was booked in advance. If you needed a window seat for your son, it should have been arranged earlier." The murmurs of the other passengers grew louder. I could feel their stares, their silent judgments. Some were probably on my side. Others, I wasn't so sure. Then Jacob spoke up, his voice flat, still staring at his game. "Mom, I want the window." That was all she needed. Her expression softened instantly. "I know, sweetheart," she cooed, then glared at me. "See? He's upset. Are you really going to make a sick child cry?" I exhaled slowly. "I'm staying in my seat," I said, my patience thinning. If there's a problem, please speak to a flight attendant. I put my headphones back on and turned up the volume. I stared straight ahead, trying to ignore the dagger-like glare I could feel on the side of my face. I heard her muttering words like disgusting and entitled, just loud enough for me to hear. This wasn't over. And I knew it. The confrontation. It wasn't long before a flight attendant finally appeared. She was a young woman with tired eyes, a name tag that read Alicia, and a professional smile that looked like it had been glued in place hours ago. Is everything all right here? Alicia asked, her voice cautious. Suit lady wasted no time. No, everything is not all right, she exclaimed. This man is refusing to give up his seat for my son, who is unwell. He's being incredibly selfish and inconsiderate. Alicia turned to me, her expression expectant. I took off my headphones and calmly explained the situation, that I had booked and paid for the seat and was being asked to move by a woman who hadn't reserved it. For a moment, Alicia nodded, seeming to understand. But then, her tone shifted. Sir, she said, we always try to accommodate our passengers' needs. It would be a very kind gesture if you considered switching with the young boy. I stared at her in disbelief. Why should I be the one to move? I asked, my voice rising. I followed the rules. I booked this seat. Why is it on me to give it up? Alicia sighed. We just want to resolve this quickly and avoid further disruption. It would really help us if you cooperated. Cooperate? I repeated. I am cooperating. I'm sitting quietly in the seat I paid for. Suit lady smiled, triumphant. See, she said to Alicia. He's being unreasonable. More passengers were staring now. Some took out their phones and started recording. The humiliation stung. I wasn't backing down. I'm not moving, I said firmly, addressing Alicia directly. If this is an issue, call your supervisor. Alicia flushed. Sir, you're making this difficult. What choice are you giving me? I asked. Are you going to physically remove me from my seat? Alicia didn't answer. But Suit Lady did. Yes. Remove him, she shrieked. He's causing distress. That's when another flight attendant showed up, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Derek. He listened to Alicia's version of events. I gave him mine. He seemed to consider both sides. But then he said, Sir, we need you to move. We need to take off on time. My heart sank. I was being targeted, and I knew why. I wasn't about to let them railroad me. I'm not moving, I said again. This is my seat. Derek's expression hardened. If you refuse, we'll have to deplane you. For what? I demanded. For sitting in the seat I paid for? They stood over me, silent. Passengers whispered, filmed. Suit Lady gloated. This wasn't just about a seat. This was about power. The turning point. I didn't budge. If you touch me, I will press charges, I warned Derek, loud enough for the nearby passengers to hear. I am not resisting, but I am not moving voluntarily. For a moment, Derek hesitated. And then, Salvation walked down the aisle. A tall man in a pilot's uniform appeared, Captain Gregory Mason. His presence was commanding. Everyone quieted. What's going on here? He asked. I explained everything. Calmly. Clearly. When I finished, Captain Mason turned to Alicia and Derek. Is this true? He asked, his tone dangerous. They stammered. They lied. He wasn't buying it. I've been listening from the cockpit, he said coldly. This is unacceptable. He faced Suit Lady. Ma'am, you're being removed from this flight. Her jaw dropped. I'm a platinum elite. You forfeited your rights, Captain Mason replied. You're done. Then he turned to Alicia and Derek. You're both suspended. Effective immediately. The cabin erupted in applause. Justice served. Security arrived. Suit Lady, Jacob, Alicia, and Derek were all escorted off. Captain Mason turned to me. On behalf of this airline, I apologize. This was unacceptable. He addressed the passengers. We'll be taking off shortly. Thank you for your patience. Applause filled the cabin again. As we took off, I looked out my window. The world shrank below me. And this time, the view was even sweeter. Because justice had finally taken flight.